We're live, bro.
We're live.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good. Yeah, man. I'm glad. This is episode 7, I think. Episode 7 of Until Midland Loves Jesus. I'm Ace. I'm here with. It's not Pastor Carlos today, but I'm here with Aaron Hughes. This is man. I respect this guy so much, and we're just gonna be able to hear about his story today, and man, what God's been doing in his life, and so, yeah, bro. If you want to introduce yourself or.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. It's Saturday morning, a beautiful morning, overcast here in Midland, Texas.
There we go. Okay.
We just got done having men's breakfast, which was fire. The word brought to you by yours truly.
Oh, dude.
Brother Ace.
Thanks, bro.
And it was great. It was spot on for what we're stepping into right now.
Yeah.
Conversation. And it was just, it hit perfect. And it was delivered well. And we're just happy to be here. So,
dude, I'm excited.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. So, man, just tell me, I guess we can start off, man. Tell me a little bit about how you. So this one's called, this show is called Until Midland Loves Jesus. So are you from here or from Midland?
It's funny. I was born here in Midland.
Okay.
Back in the 80s.
Okay. I didn't know this.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy, right? Born in the 80s, here in Midland, never lived a day in my life. Our family was actually in Andrews, Texas.
Okay.
When I was born, and oil crashed in the 80s. My dad was out there working in the oil field, and I think I was about 4 years old, right before kindergarten. We packed up, and headed out west to Arizona. So I was raised in Arizona from kindergarten till college.
Wow.
And then we came back here. I've been here for 16 years.
Oh, that.
Okay. So got married to my beautiful wife, and the same month we got married, our honeymoon was actually moving to Andrews, Texas. So,
there you go, man.
Yeah, that's not I don't recommend that to anybody.
Is that a fire honeymoon?
Go on a good honeymoon.
Yeah.
The one thing I regret, and I apologize to my wife for, but we've been here ever since. We lived in Andrews for about a month, and then we came over to Midland. Yeah. And we've been here ever since. It's been a journey, but it's been a blessing. So. Yeah.
Dang, man. So born here, moved to Arizona. And then you moved back here 16 years ago. You and Brenda moved here together.
Yeah, Brenda and I moved out here. We started a family out here, just the two of us, really, and we have beautiful kids. My son Aaron, he's didn't want a junior, but my wife, she thankfully she put her foot down, and she wanted someone to carry my name on, and that was neat. That was super neat.
Yeah, that's awesome.
My name's picked out. I'll let you guys ask her about that. Maybe you can get her on here. She's got a better testimony than I do, but ask her the boy names because it's embarrassing. I had boy names picked out, and thank God she went with Aaron.
Were they that bad, bro?
I loved them,
okay,
but I liked them for the wrong reasons.
You go.
The wrong idols growing up, I guess you could say.
Okay, I see.
But so I have Aaron Jr. He's 15, going on 16. He's getting his permit, so he's driving pretty much.
That's crazy.
He's little Aaron, but he's actually coming to be big Aaron. He's almost bigger than me, right?
Yeah, and I see him at youth, and since you guys have been coming here, and so just to see him grow up, and I mean, he was always taller than me, but now he's really taller than me. And
last year he just took off,
Dude, and driving now, that's crazy.
It's wild. So that's Aaron, great kid. I couldn't ask for a better son. That's a little bit of testimony too. I was promised a son. I was at a red light on 19th Avenue and Cactus in Phoenix, and it was probably 2 a.m. doing what I shouldn't be doing, but I had it in my spirit that I was gonna have my firstborn be a son. So there's no denying that, and here he is, and he's been a blessing. Wow. Yeah. Our secondborn, another testimony. I can get into that later, but she was a surprise. 100%. I think we found out when she was like 6 months pregnant. I want to say. Okay. We found out we were pregnant with her, and she's just a blessing. She's all around beautiful inside and out. That's Ava, Ava Rose Hughes, and so that's the 4 of us.
Dang.
I don't know if I mentioned my wife. My wife's Brenda. Everybody knows Brenda. She's solid. I couldn't ask for a better wife. I was blessed. Truly found a blessing in her. So.
Yeah, man, and honestly, you and your family have been such a blessing to my life ever since you guys started coming here, and like I said, it's been cool to see you guys grow. It's been cool to see, not only literally, because Aaron literally growing, but even just spiritually, man. Like, it's been just an awesome. I'm glad I get to. I've been able to be a part of that, and it's cool.
Thank you.
You guys are always like, I mean, you guys are just, and with me personally, like, just man, you like you dap me up, man. Your family, we give each other hugs, and like you guys just love me, and it's been cool, man. It's been really cool.
If you only knew Ace, you're in a lot of our talks, and in all good ways, man. My wife, dude, loves you. My kids love you. I love you, man. We had lunch, I think, just once since we've been here, but I really enjoyed it. We need to do it more often.
Yeah, dude, I'm down.
But you said it. You've seen us grow.
Yeah.
is going back to the church and spiritually, we've started our growth here at Real Church. I literally, probably since day one, we came to visit. It's the spiritual and the journey. That's where to me it started, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. So, man, that's awesome. So you guys move here and then you start your family, and so, man, well, what was your what was your childhood like? I guess what was that growing up in Arizona?
sure.
I grew up in West Texas, so I think we had the same weather, but you might have had a kind of a different experience there.
Yeah, same. Arizona, Phoenix it's a beautiful place. It's one of those things that when you leave it and you go back as a tourist, you're like, man, I should have taken more advantage of the beauty it has. And it's funny the stereotypes you get, right? You're from Arizona, like, oh, it's just cactuses and desert. Like, no, it's beautiful. There's a lot of water out there. Best golf courses, right?
Okay, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, palm trees, and you're in the mix of palm trees and mountains. Real mountains. Not hills.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful place. So yeah, very similar to the weather. It's just a little more extreme out there.
Right.
Hot's hot out there.
Yeah.
100 plus degrees. At midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning. So if you go, I encourage everybody to go check it out. Beautiful spots all over Arizona.
Yeah.
But go in like fall, November.
Yeah,
We go back every year for Thanksgiving, and that's the time to go. You can.
That's fire.
Steady
Everywhere else
67
is cold.
degrees. Yeah. But it's a beautiful place. It's a huge city. And we heard the same when we came to Texas, right? I told my friends back home, like, oh, we're going to Texas. They're like, oh, it's just, Cowboys and Spurs type stuff. Like, no, it's a real deal. It's a real city.
Yeah. No, they got Mexicans here too.
Yeah. That was kind of new to me too. But yeah, growing up in Phoenix was neat. You're exposed to a lot. It's kind of like Midland is now, a melting pot of people from all over the world, right?
Yeah.
So elementary, junior high, high school was where we really started getting exposure to a lot of the diversity in the culture.
Yeah.
And I jumped all in it at that point. I just love people. I love cultures and whatnot. So, but early childhood was good. We moved a lot. I forget how many times we moved. I think I went to like 7 or 8 different schools.
Oh wow.
And people can be like, oh, that's hard, that's tough, but it actually ended up being great in high school,
Yeah.
right? Because now you're going to high school parties and
There
people
you
from all
go.
over the city. But moved a lot. Met a lot of great people. We're still in contact to this day.
Yeah.
I got friends from elementary school. We've been friends since they call it the sandbox, right? We've just never grown apart.
Yeah.
And again, from all over the city. So, but like every childhood, you have your goods and your bads, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I won't get into details or divulge into the bad because it shapes you and molds you, and I'm thankful for it all. It's neat, and you learn to find good in the bad, right?
Right.
You find character and you find triumph and victories and things.
Yeah. For sure.
I guess you want to ask me more about
Yeah.
me?
Yeah. No, for sure. Like I guess so like, do you have siblings or what was that? What was you not little Aaron, the one I know, but you younger.
Little Aaron, man, it's funny. Little Aaron, people don't believe me when I say this, but I was 100% introvert.
Okay.
Man, 100%. So I have one sibling. He's an older brother.
Okay.
3 years older than me. He was extrovert, 100%. So he's outside, racing bikes and all in the neighborhood. And I was 100% inside with my G.I. Joes.
There you go.
So anyone that really knows me knows I still have my G.I. Joes.
G.I. Joes.
And I could spend all day, 3, 4, 5 hours a day in my room by myself with my Joes, man. And that was my safety. That was my peace, and I was going to my own little world and play. And I actually didn't even like people to come over because, they'll try to play with you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, your world's not my world right now.
Like, you are ruining my story right now.
You did not kill the star of my show, my G.I. Joe. But 100% introvert. I think a lot of that comes too from I was sick as a kid. I was always sick. So I grew up with severe asthma.
Oh wow.
And so I would take weeks or months off of school trying to stay alive, and my mom kept me alive through all that, and thank my mom and my dad, and from doctor visits to hospitals. I think majority of our Christmases was spent in the hospital when I was young, and
man,
my dad actually, I remember him very clearly bailing me out, coming and just cutting the tubes off and saying he's going to be home for Christmas. We'll have him back after he opens presents.
Yeah.
And it was
hardcore. That's
very sickly kid. But I still, was active. I played sports. I raced BMX a little bit. My brother was a star of that show. He traveled and
Oh
and
wow,
was a
that's cool.
champion BMX racer. I raced. It wasn't my gig.
Yeah.
My first love for I say sports was basketball. I just
Okay.
love basketball.
Yeah.
And whatnot. But yeah, as a kid, I was 100% introvert, man.
Yeah.
And I laugh because people don't believe me today because I just go talk to anybody. Like
Right.
Pastor Carlos said, I'll go talk to a wall and have a great time. Have a
Dang,
great
dude.
conversation.
Yeah.
But I had to teach myself, and
Okay.
I tell them, Aaron, I teach him on how to do that.
Yeah.
There's a process, and I give myself. When I got in high school, I started giving myself goals.
Yeah.
I knew I had to work at communication,
Yeah.
and so we'd go to LA Fitness. It's a gym, like a YMCA. I'd go to the gym, and I'd say, all right, every day I go up here, I'm gonna say hi and meet one new person,
Yeah.
and like really get to meet them, right? So next time I see him, I can say, hey, so and so, how are you? How's the kids or whatever? And so then it went to 2 people and 3 people, and to where I had to train myself to communicate and get out of my shell.
That's cool though, because I think sometimes people think, oh, you're either introverted or extroverted, but
No,
man, I think you can kind of, like you said, you kind of learned both, and you were one way, and you learned how to not be introverted anymore, and so you were really introverted, and as a kid, what was like? Did you and your family, did y'all grow up in the church, or what was your faith like back then? Was it even existent at that point?
yeah, I grew up in the church. My mom always made sure we're in church. My dad also. So you got to get kind of the picture right of kind of who I am, how I grew up. My dad's blue eyes, big old biker dude from Detroit, or outside of Detroit, Michigan. And my mom's a small town country girl from Andrews, Texas.
Okay,
Mexicana from Andrews, Texas. My dad's Jack Hughes. My mom's Maria Yolanda Vada before she was born, before she was got married to my dad, and she goes by Mary Hughes. So, and then the street, or not the streets, in the the neighborhood, all the kids, because we're the house that was like the neighborhood house too growing up.
Okay.
So everyone was at our house all the time.
Yeah.
They knew my mom was gonna feed them, and they always had a place to be and stay. And my mom goes by Sister Mary.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because she was the saint, right?
Oh yeah.
She never did anything wrong. Never heard her cuss. She never done any drinking, smoking, nothing. She's Sister Mary though.
Yeah.
To all my boys, and she made sure we all got to church, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
That's
matter how
awesome.
knuckleheads we were. And as a young kid, as an elementary kid, she would take us to church, and I remember Sunday school and whatnot, and I was too young to know the faith or know church, so to speak. But she made sure we're in there. We're getting the foundation, man. Seeds were planted, right?
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't watering them, I didn't know how to.
Right.
Getting into junior high, and there was a fork in the road, and my brother and I definitely took the wrong turns. We just my poor mom, she had two tough boys, and but still she'd make sure we went to church.
Yeah.
And not only that, like I said, the homies, right? They're the boys on the block. They knew that if they went to church with us on Sunday, they were getting fed on
there you go.
a good meal. We should make tacos or enchiladas or whatever. And so the aspect of church was there. Just definitely wasn't necessarily real to me. Growing up, like I said, childhood, everyone's got their issues right in childhood.
Yeah.
Actually, I told you before we had this interview, it'd be hard to talk about some things.
Yeah.
You just want it to come out correct and right.
For sure.
But we all had issues growing up. Everyone has their issues, and going to church, I feel like everyone knew our issues, right? So every Wednesday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night, my mom would have me and my brother there, and holding hands, going up for prayer, and go for the altar and get prayer. And I just hated it. I hated it. I started to have a disdain for church, and it felt like everyone knows your business, and they know what you're going for prayer for, and everyone's crying, and I felt like I hate to see my mom cry, But let me fast forward real quick. Knowing now what I know is she wasn't crying necessarily tears of pain or whatnot. It was the love of Christ, and that'll draw you. Even my cold heart, I praise God that. I hope I don't cry during this interview, but it softened me. It softened me, and it's like okay, there's a big understanding now. You start having a wisdom and understanding of how and why, and it's just God's love will bring it out of you, right? But as a kid, you saw it. It's like, man, everybody comes here just to cry. That's why you come to church, just to let it out. And, a bunch of crybabies. But it was more of a resentment. I would say at parts of church. Like I don't want people to know my business and whatnot. So
and I think, yeah, I grew up in kind of a same culture where, was it like kind of like Pentecostal-ish church or kind of like non-denominational or?
I think non-denominational. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm still learning that stuff myself.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, I guess just like, because the way I grew up, like people would go up to the altar call and like cry
Yeah,
every week. So,
100%. Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of how I grew up. And I think, yeah, if you just kind of don't have the faith for it and you just see it, man, and I think even too in the church I say we, in the big C church, not here at Road Church, but sometimes, like you said, you start to grow a disdain. You're like, dude, this guy just knows my business now, or like,
Right.
my mom's telling everyone the prayer requests, and now everyone knows what the heck I'm doing, and
Yeah.
and so it just feels like they're against you, I guess, right? Like
Somewhat. Yeah.
somewhat,
Yeah,
or
somewhat.
like, oh, dude, I don't want people to know my business. And was that, you think that was kind of your introvertedness too, of like at that point where you just didn't want people to know?
I think it was introvertedness, and looking back now, as you continue to mature, it was my immaturity, right?
Okay, yeah,
So, and understanding now, and I won't get too far ahead, but being a part of the ultra team,
yeah,
it's just hilarious.
yeah,
You understand people's heart now, and it's
wow,
my heart posture as a kid going up for prayer was 100% wrong, you know, and my heart posture now is understanding. You're not going up there for looks, you're not going up there for attention, you're not going up there for anything else but a word from God, and
Yeah.
and if anything, just to have an attachment with someone to pray with you,
yeah,
and pray with you through something or for something. So,
right.
yeah, it's I think it's a lot of it's immaturity on a personal level.
Okay, yeah,
So,
yeah, because I think, and to back what I was saying, I'm not saying like, oh, it's wrong that churches do this. I think,
yeah,
like you said, I think sometimes we just, when you don't have the faith for it, or you don't even believe in God, you don't understand why we do things the way we do things
Right.
at a church or whatever, and it's funny, like you said, I think it's cool. I think it shows that God has like this sense of humor where you used to hate going up for prayer, and
yeah.
now
No, trust
now
me.
you're on the altar team.
Trust me. Real big sense
That's
of humor.
cool.
And I laughed. I think I told Pastor Carlos about that. I said, I hated altar calls as a
Yeah.
kid, and here we are.
Wow.
Have leadership in the team, and
Yeah.
then not only that, to see, like I said, I see in a whole different light now.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
it's come full circle. I'm like, okay,
Wow.
there's power behind this. There's truth behind it, and there's
Right.
love.
Yeah.
It's true love. There's no condemnation. It's
Yeah.
come and let's pray together through things. So,
Yeah. That's good, dude.
yeah.
And so you would go to church with your mom, and she would make food. That's fire. And then
Yeah.
that's how you get your friends there. What, I guess, at what point do you think your faith really like came to life in your own life? Like, was there moments where you kind of knew, like, okay, maybe I should go back to God or go to church?
Yeah.
Like, what did that look like for you?
Good question, and not an easy answer.
Yeah.
Looking back at some of the previous episodes,
Yeah.
Matt and Brett, their testimonies are awesome. And thank you guys so much for sharing.
Yeah.
It means a lot, But I was more like both the guys. You share things with people. That's why I think this podcast is amazing, because it brings out the truth, and it breaks down walls, or because people walk in on Sundays. If people only see me on Sundays, you might see me in a certain light, and I promise you that's or anybody in the church, right? You might be like, oh, they got it all together,
Right.
if you had any idea.
Right.
But those guys, kind of piggybacking off what they're saying, man, I played it for a long time, and it was never real to me,
Yeah.
up until I came here. I was 38, 39 when it got real.
Okay. Yeah.
So, like I said, good question, hard answer, because the answer
Yeah.
spans 20 years of my life.
Yeah.
And like Brett and them were saying, man, like, you got in, you knew it, you kind of felt a little bit, you played it a lot. We were talking about church, or faith, and but it never became real until later on. But
You don't think there was times of like, because I think definitely, even you said it earlier, man, even just your mom being like, we're going to go to church. Like, she's planting seeds. And even sometimes I think, even when people are playing pretend and they're just showing up, I think the Lord, is still doing things, know? And so was there, like, I guess, key moments where you're like, man, this happened? And, even though you didn't fully commit until, like you said, until you started coming here, what were some of those key moments, if you could think of them?
There's a lot of key moments.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big events and
Right.
and small events too that were seeding my faith. It was there's always a communication too with God. I think the seeds my mom and dad were planting at a young age at least gave me the communication. So
Right.
I didn't even see it as praying at times. I saw it as talking to God, right? So there's always a communication with me and my father, right?
Yeah.
But just hard headed too. There's a lot of rebellion, it's just fun to look back out. You asked me quickly to come on here, and I've thought about this podcast and coming on and sharing stories and testimonies, and I always thought I want to get more prepared. Like I want like a week-long fast, so I was
Okay,
clear
yeah.
and things that could pop up.
Yeah.
But I'm happy with how this is working out because it's getting me thinking as we speak.
Yeah.
And I just played it a lot. Even like I said, so kind of backtracking to as a kid. My mom would take all these boys, and there'd be a row full of boys. And growing up, how I grew up, man. Shout out to my boys over there, man. I had one sibling, but I had many brothers. I still do have many brothers. Just God-sent brothers, man. We love each other, and we make jokes. My mom she'll tell us afterwards would go to a church and would stop going to that church or whatnot. And years later, people would get in contact with mom like, so whose kids were you? Like, I know you had boys, but which boys were yours? Because we had my Asian boy. And then all my brothers were, you had every mix, black, Mexican, white, and
Dang.
the whole row, man, the whole block.
That's cool,
my
dude.
mom
So
took us on there.
y'all had a whole row.
Dude, the whole row, and
That's
they didn't know whose kid was my mom's.
Yeah.
Because we'd all give my mom a kiss on the cheek and a hug and call her mom, hey,
Yeah.
mom. And so it was, those seeds were getting in there. And then as we got older in high school, we're driving, and we'll show up to church. High school. Junior high school is where I started making a left, and my brother did too. And but we still honor my mom. We'll go to church.
Yeah.
But we'll be finishing the 40 ounces in the car on the way, or
Yeah.
excuse me, or smoking. Always chiefing. Never smoke cigarettes. Just I always smoke bud, but but we got to church. No matter what it was, we respected my mom. And I think it was kind of more respect for mom, not respect for church.
Okay. Yeah. Or even for God at that point, right?
Yeah. No, we just showed up and but we're still there. I'm still listening. I might not be reading. I wasn't reading the Bible, this and that, and but it was sinking in there in that hard head,
Yeah.
And then going back to the question, just times, I want to say real quick before I jump into like my times. Kind of like Matt, I think Matt stopped it too for a second and said, I don't want to glorify what I've done or things I did. It's not a glorification of the hard stuff I've been through. It wasn't my getting through it. It was God. But I want to say real quick, I've told my son this recently. People who haven't been through huge moments in life, like near death experience or whatnot, but people that have just that genuine faith as a young kids. I know that everyone has their issues, right, that we may not know about, but people that don't have like this huge, I was a drug addict, or I died, and or whatever it was, but they have that pure faith, man. And I told them that testimony is always more powerful to me than my testimony of being a knucklehead for 20 years, right?
Right.
And so I just want to say that. I don't know why, but I've talked to someone recently, and he said, I don't have a testimony. And I said, man,
Not
but
true.
you have that faith with God, but they're faithful to God, and I said that is a stronger testimony. Yeah, to me, I hope that makes any sense.
No, that does. I think even me and Pastor Carlos in his story, we were talking about how, man, every testimony matters, like everyone, and even like you said, man, I think it's more powerful if God has kept you from those things than Him bringing you out of those things, because I think the God bringing you out of those things is the more common testimony, where it's like, hey, I was doing this, I was doing that, and then God woke me up, kind of thing. And but then there's people who are like, hey, I got saved when I was 7, and I've been walking with God since then. And not that they're perfect, but it's been like, man, God kept them from a lot of the pain that I think people have gone through. And so, I've heard people say that too. Like, I don't have a testimony. I'm like, no, you do. And it's beautiful. Every testimony is beautiful.
Yeah, I like that. Like Pastor Carlos 15, that just wows me. Wows me. To me, that shows real. That's a testimony. Yeah, man. Huge. So going back to my knucklehead, right? So, and real quick on that too. I told my son, he kind of talked to me about a testimony too, and I said, son, everyone has a testimony, whether you know it or not. And sometimes those testimonies you don't know about where God saved you is power, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that be. I can name some things right now that are secret to me that I know of other people's testimonies that they don't know about.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
I won't dive too deep in that. How
Yeah.
God saved their lives.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact it was God.
Yeah.
And they have no idea.
Yeah.
They have no idea of their testimony.
Right. Man.
So
yeah.
the wolf was at the door.
Yeah.
And they don't even know it. So
Man, I think there's so many even instances in our day where we don't know, man, what God has kept us from, and I think that's just the ultimate testimony is, man, like God is like protecting us, and He's always with us, and it's cool. So, but that's an interesting perspective. I
100%
haven't thought about that, but
100%. So what do you want to know about? So high school, kind of where my journey kicked off, right? My knucklehead's journey. And I'll kind of tiptoe around this.
Man.
Ask me anything. I'll give you the answer, but I might not give you details, right?
Okay.
So if you want to dive deeper.
Yeah, for sure.
High school, and this would be let me kind of preface this. This has kind of been a story of my life too. I've always lived kind of a double life.
Okay.
So I've always, and I'll say that as far as like I've always had an honest job, and I've always meant well, but then I've always had that secret life too, right? Like a lot of us may have. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So high school, junior high school, all that, growing up, I was late 90s. I was an 80s baby, right? So we grew up a lot different than a lot of folks, and it was fun. But drugs and alcohol and all that, like most people's stories. I dabbled in it all. And then I was always a hustler, right? So I jumped in the money side. And it was like, it didn't make dollars, didn't make sense, right? Old school rap stuff. And being West Coast, man, I got to throw out a shout out West Coast. I'm West Coast fanatic. So I'm old school. Any hip hop heads, I'm DJ Quick, Sugar Free, Mossberg, and West Coast stuff, Ice Cube and Mac 10, all them. So that's how I grew up, man. And it's just my boys, and growing up, you click up real quick in bigger cities and whatnot. So we had our other boys, our group, our club, our crew, whatever you want to call it. Gangs were around and whatnot, and again, growing up in Phoenix was territorial, so it wasn't as territorial as some states and areas, and very exposed to a lot. And so, where do I take this? I got into a lot of that stuff, right? So it was partying, and you start meeting. I started learning real quick. I was already doing good at my focusing on people and talking, and so, man, we grew up in, like, again, a melting pot. So I had friends. Started in high school, and I took it outside of school real quick, and went to their cultures. So I had friends that were like Russian, Bosnian, Middle Eastern, and I'd go to their house parties, and
there you go,
and I'd go to their bars, and I was 15, 16 going to these 20 and older clubs.
Were you already as tall as you are now? Is that what it is? No.
No, I was believe it or not, I was skinny. I was thin. I was playing basketball or at the parks and everywhere. I was a skinny dude, and but I was just hard headed, and I was full throttle, and it was and I was curious and just enjoyed learning or whatnot. Learning the good and obviously the bad too.
Right.
And so I got to where I was just in this mix of a little bit of everything. The whole drug thing and stuff, it wasn't too crazy at an early age, freshman, sophomore, all that. I never got into like weird, crazy psychedelics and things of that sort. But of course, back then it was mainly the big ones, like the bud and some coke and stuff. It was like, and I was never a big consumer. I saw the money side of it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm getting in these clubs, and I'm starting to do things for outside of school for these other folks, right?
Yeah.
And I got into with some of the Middle Eastern guys that own liquor stores and doing some things for them. And so now here we are. I'm 16, and I got full access to liquor stores. So we're cool kids, right?
Yeah.
Me and my buddies, and I think we literally, I don't know how we would go into certain liquor stores, and we'd come out with not pallets, dollies. So they'll see me and my boys show up.
Yeah.
With 4 or 5 cars deep or something. They would get the dollies.
That's crazy.
With beer and liquor or whatever we needed.
Yeah.
So we took full advantage of that.
Right.
And and just out there doing it, And I was going with these, different guys' spots and their legal gambling and different things, and just got mixed up in some crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
And so just getting involved in the wrong crowd and
yeah.
and like you said, you kind of had this communication skill so you would meet new people, but you kind of got into some trouble there, and so
Yeah, and luckily never got in like trouble, like caught,
Right,
but
right.
definitely in the wrong places.
yeah,
And that was kind of mediocre stuff. Me
Yeah.
and my boys, man, we weren't bad kids. We kind of walked by our own path and did our
Yeah.
own thing. A lot of fights. That's when we started getting a lot of violence.
Yeah.
A lot of fights and whatnot,
Wow.
and weapons involved, weapons not involved, and like I said, it was. I told Pastor it's kind of ghetto, but when I came into the altar team, and Pastor Carlos, we kind of talked about what we're going to do in the church, and
Yeah.
it was on my heart, the altar team, which was funny because I wrestled with it,
Yeah.
hating it as a kid, but God put it in my heart,
Wow.
and I was like, saying back in the streets is like front line every time, right? So
Yeah.
if something's on, I want to be front row
There
and
you
get
go.
it. And that really stuck with me with the altar team.
Wow.
My son ghetto, I know it's ghetto. My wife, I'm sure she's gonna be shaking her head like this dude. But that's who we are, man. I
Yeah.
want front line. Let's get it. Whether it's in the church or. My mom said one thing too when I was in high school. It stuck with me. She might not remember this, but she was finding out what we're doing, some things here and there, and she would
Yeah.
see guns and alcohol and drugs out in the cars and whatnot. And
Wow.
she said it very clear, and it stuck with me. She said you can be like a king in the streets, or you can be a king in the church. Like kind of like what crown do you want to hold?
Yeah.
And I never really paid much attention to it, but she knew how hard headed me and my brother were, and we're going for it.
Yeah.
So that was early high school. And again, that double life, right? I can get straight A's, I can get A's, be honor roll, and school's pretty easy for me.
Yeah.
But then, after school it was on.
Yeah.
I was looking back, it's just funny. I tell every time I see some people, we have this thing. I tell them a ghetto Aaron story.
Yeah.
I call it a ghetto Aaron
Ghetto,
story. 'Cause
yeah.
I got plenty of them, and I'd be in parts of Mexico that no one knew where I was at. My family, was clubbing out with club owners. I was driving at that point. I was maybe 16, 17.
Oh, dang.
And I'd be out there with club owners and doing our thing and making connections. And
That's
then,
crazy.
Or in San Francisco, downtown San Francisco, I'll be out there. I don't think I was driving then. I went with my basketball coach
Yeah.
and his family. But they went to bed, and I'll go out and I'd hit the streets of San Francisco. Sorry,
That's
coach,
crazy.
he's just hearing this. Coach, I'm sorry, but I'll be out there and again, just learn how to network real quick. So
Wow,
there's like
yeah.
doorbellmen out when you say hotels in San Francisco. There's like doorbellmen, I guess you call them. And I got cool with them. First day, I say, hey, man, be out here around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, So I was probably 15. I don't think I was
crazy.
driving. And go out there and give him a $20 bill. He'd walk with me to the liquor
Dang.
store. Me and him get a couple drinks.
Dang, dude. So that introvertedness really left you.
It left quick, man.
Dang.
And I think a lot of that has to do with influences, right?
Yeah,
Bad influences.
Well, and so, man, so you're doing this as a teenager, right? And then you graduate. So you graduate high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess. So when did you and Brenda meet? How did that happen?
Sure, yeah. That's the good part. We actually met in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely not high school sweethearts.
Okay.
So, but I knew something special the first time I met her.
Mm-hmm.
But she was dating someone, I was dating someone, and we still have notes to this day. We'd pass notes, right? That's how we got to talking.
Yeah.
And she would give me advice, relationship advice and stuff. And so we're just friends in
Yeah.
high school. We're friends, and her friends were my friends, and my friends were her friends, and we were just close friends. And then outside of high school, I want to say I was in college or something, so 19, 20 years old or so we met.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple years out of high school, we finally met. And when we saw each other again, it was, she wasn't seeing anybody, talking to anybody. I wasn't seeing her talking to anybody. And it was just, I don't think we stopped seeing each other since.
Yeah.
We started talking again, and
Wow.
yeah, and it grew from there.
Mm.
But even then, and then she'll say this, she'll admit it, that it was a blessing that we weren't we're friends. I think we probably knew we could have been boyfriend, girlfriend in high school, but
Yeah.
it was definitely a God thing. 'Cause I had a lot of growing up to do,
Okay. Yeah.
a lot of growing up to do.
Yeah.
And again, the influence, right? So, I was home alone, and growing up, like I said, the neighbor kids, we had people live with us all the time.
Yeah.
So my house was always open.
Mm.
I had I call them my brothers, right? Like I said,
Yeah.
one sibling, but many brothers.
Yeah.
And brothers living with us, we took in, and they live with us, right? We shared
Right.
a bed together,
Yeah.
and we just just a lot of exposure, a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And later on in high school, my sibling, my only brother, he jumped on it hard, right? So he went all for it.
Yeah.
Like, again, for the wrong side, for the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And we're talking, next level.
Okay.
And so then I got exposed to a lot more.
Yeah.
And then I would say like through him or with him. And then, of course, me doing my thing, I would, you open a door to this, I'm going to go in the door and find other doors to go through too, right, on my own,
Right.
my own little journeys. But it was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Gosh, from 16, I would say, to 22, it was just a ride. My brother he started his own limo business, and
Dang.
so I'm over there, 18, probably illegal, driving, people around, and
Yeah.
and just it was pretty wild, like it was like a movie type of thing. Sometimes I was underage, but I was going through the kitchen to these high-end nightclubs and meeting people and getting exposure. And then, like I said, I would do my thing from there and
Wow.
branch off and do my own stuff. But I was still the quiet one at a lot of times.
Yeah.
I never been a big flashy dude. I like the business aspect of it.
Yeah.
And when I say the business, I mean, violence and all that stuff.
Right.
I yearn toward that.
Okay.
So there's a time in my life where I enjoyed violence.
Yeah.
And I really, really liked it.
Yeah.
And and especially get paid for it, even better.
Right.
But so it just got, that block of my life was just was wild to look back.
Just sort of lots of ups and downs and
Yeah. And to bring it back home to spirituality, right?
Yeah.
There was always a spiritual aspect to it. So I would say it was more of a battle though I saw. So I would see, like people would say, they see shadows and see different things and feel, and I'd wake up and my mom would be over praying over me while I was sleeping.
Wow.
And she would see things and
yeah.
and there was a time too where I never dabbled in like witchcraft or anything, right? But
Yeah.
there were some times where I went on missions alone, so to speak, and I didn't want anyone with me. And this is how confused you can be in life. I would pray to God, right? Hey, God, I'm about to do this illegal activity. Be with me.
That's great.
And if I didn't hear from Him,
Right.
there was a couple times where I prayed to the other side, like, hey, I need someone with me, right?
Yeah.
I don't want no one in the physical because if
Wow.
it goes bad, I don't want to hurt anyone else. But I wanted someone with me, so I started talking to the other side, so to speak.
Wow.
And so,
Yeah. I guess because I look back at just dumb stuff I did when I was a teenager, and I'm like, yo, God saved my life there. Like, do you kind of look back at that season of life and you're like, man, mom's prayers all over the place and God saving me here, like
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, there was. Again, we can get deeper in other podcasts or not. Or,
Yeah.
I definitely know a story needs to be told, but there was, fights. Violence was huge.
Wow. Yeah.
Day, night, anytime. Shootouts.
Wow. Yeah.
Stabbings and a lot of horrific stuff.
Yeah.
I joke about it, but I say I've literally been cut, shot, blown
Wow.
up.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
And people, I'd love to tell you if we're personal one-on-one, I'll tell you a little more
Right.
detail.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's God was with me the whole time.
Wow.
It's wild, and that
Yeah.
save that thought because that'll come in
Yeah.
when I
Okay.
finally when it got real to me.
For sure.
All that comes back.
Yeah, okay.
All that comes all the way back in my
Yeah.
face, in my head. Yeah. So
Yeah, so I guess we can, as we can move forward here with, and so you and Brenda meet when you said early 20s, or you guys met in high school, but you guys y'all got serious?
Yeah, we started like kind of like not dating, but like really talking outside of high school. I think I was wrapping up like my associates in college,
Okay.
and we started talking. I think I was 20 or 21 when we started talking.
Okay.
And we didn't stop talking, right?
Yeah.
I was still, how do I say this? At this point, I was, I guess, more struggling with kind of wanting to pull out of certain things in life.
Yeah.
Kind of wanting to fly straight, so to speak.
Yeah.
And again, church was always part of it, right? So we started talking, and I made it very clear that, like, we're gonna go to church, and
Yeah.
I'm probably fast forward a little bit when we started actually dating. I let her know, like, if I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna marry like a Christian woman. I just, I guess that's coming from the backbone of my mom, right? Like I knew what I needed,
Right.
and I needed someone on my side that was that way, and she's all in, man. She's a God gift, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to get her on here. She's got a way better testimony, way more. she's way more. She can clearly say things, but yeah, just amazing.
Yeah.
We started talking and dating. I think I was 2021, and just started like really talking. And
You were smooth with it, bro. You were like, yo.
not at all, man. That's how I knew she was a real one. I knew she was a keeper. Not to boast, man. It sounds ghetto, but there was a time in my life where I feel like I can get any girl I wanted, right?
Right.
And again, at that age, I was young. I was slimmer, and I don't think I was a bad-looking dude, but I had access to the city. I felt like, right?
Right.
Cars, this is more my brother's doing, but Jaguars and Escalades and all the Cadillacs and all that. Who knows what I was in, and so I felt bulletproof, right? I was young, dumb, and thought I was something, and I wasn't anything. But she came in, and I had no game at that point, dude. Like approaching her, and she'll agree. I hope she doesn't. I hope if you do talk to her, she doesn't tell her how corny I was. But I lost the coolness, And that's I was the only girl to ever do that. Like I was nervous.
Yeah.
But she saw it through it, hopefully, and we got to talking, man, and we've never been apart ever since,
Wow.
And she saw me through a couple more really hard parts of my life.
Yeah, man.
And kept me alive and stayed by my side when she
definitely,
didn't need to, huh?
So she's definitely was that gift of God to you. In that
Yeah,
season.
for sure.
Yeah.
So, I was 21. I was almost 22. Brenda and I were talking, and we weren't official yet. Actually, matter of fact, we were just talking. We weren't boyfriend girlfriend.
Wow.
I don't think we were. My time is bad, but I have an excuse, right?
Don't get in trouble, bro.
No, I got an excuse, man. Right? So the excuse coming up.
Okay.
We're talking. I was wrapping up school. I was actually, like I said, a double life, right? I was trying to get rid of the bad part, and I was going out for the fire department.
Okay.
So I had family and friends that are in the department, and Phoenix Fire Department, man, shout out to them. Great organization.
Yeah.
Like, huge, man. It's hugely sought after.
Okay. Yeah.
Organization. Worldwide, people go in there and try to join that. And I was on the track. I was doing school, my EMTs, all that goodies. And me and her are talking it serious. And then my life hit pause, right? Hard pause.
Yeah.
And this is the night I got shot, right?
Oh, wow.
I've been in shootouts before and on both sides of the bullet. And I want to say I got hit in the hand years before that. And this one was I got shot in the head, right? So
Dang.
I got murdered out there on the west side of Phoenix. I was actually this was the night before or the morning of, I was supposed to go meet her family for the first time. She had plans for me to go meet her family and whatnot. And that had to put pause for a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got shot in the head and lost my eye. So if it looks like I'm not looking at the camera, that's probably why. But I lost my left eye.
Yeah.
I got hit right here on the side of the head near my ear. Took my eye out. I remember very clearly the whole incident, right?
Wow.
Before and after. I remember actively passing away, dying, knowing I was. And it was funny, my boy Nano, gave him a shout out. Saved my life too. He whatever car I had, any cars I had, he was a driver, right? So rarely did I sit in the backseat. I wasn't that cool. I just rode shotgun in my own car because I was usually drinking the whole time or doing my thing. And so he was driving. And,
wow.
He drove me straight to Maryvale Hospital.
Dang.
The Vale. Yeah, if anybody knows from Phoenix about the Vale, Maryvale, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like little Iraq. That's all they do is gunshots and bullet holes out there.
Dang, man.
but yeah, so I lost my life, man. I got murdered that night.
Wow.
And I feel like that could be this whole episode, right?
Yeah.
Kind of what I experienced.
Yeah.
My wife was there. Brenda was there, as a friend at the point.
Mm-hmm.
And she came to the hospital that day, and I got out, and she was still by my side through all the surgeries the next year, and never left my side, man. So
wow.
that night not that night, when I woke up from a quick little coma, they had me, and it was the first time I heard the voice of God.
Wow.
And because I was an angry kid, might have hit it well here and there, but I just had this anger, man, this beast inside of me that there's some nights we'd go out as kids and high school kids, and I didn't want to leave until I got in a fight or saw some kind of violence, and just angry for it just flare up. And I loved everybody and I still love people, but there's just times where I just had this, I know what it was now. It was a familiar spirit that wasn't the Holy Spirit, thank God, and now I'm filled with Him.
Yeah.
And he forced that out, but
yeah.
But the first time I heard the voice of God, He said, I was in the hospital room by myself, bandaged up, sitting there like, man. And of course, I got people coming in ready to handle business, and whatnot. And Everyone left for a moment, and I heard him. I heard it very clearly. He said, "Your anger will kill you faster than that bullet."
Dang.
If I didn't handle my anger, right?
Yeah.
Your anger will kill you faster than that bullet ever did. And it was. I'm not saying the voice of God came down vibrant, but it was just a still voice in my heart that I heard.
Wow.
Very clear, very decisive, very loving, but very confirming.
So, yeah.
And so, again, that spirituality was there. I listened to it for through a little bit of my struggle, and then that went out the ear, and I was a knucklehead again. The knucklehead came out, and but I was struggling, right? So now I'm meeting this girl, now I'm with Brenda, and she don't play, so I knew how to get my crap together if I wanted to be with her for any time. And it was a pruning process at that point.
Yeah.
And
and I guess I don't want to move on too quickly from.
Sure.
So you got shot and you were in a coma for a little bit, and then I guess you said like in all this when you were by yourself, you hear that, and so, man, what? Because at that point, I mean, you'd grown up in church, but you said you were kind of like living this double life, right? And I think even just like seeing your mom's faith, did you know in that? Oh snap! Like, did you know this is God?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I knew it was God, and I thanked God, and I said a prayer, and thanked for my life, and I never had an issue with. I don't know. I take that back. Yeah, anger still kind of came and went.
Right.
But I was trying to do better. I went to church, and pastor there prophesied over me over things, and we got married and moved out here, and it's been a good life. I left it all back there, and we started a whole new life out here.
And I guess so sorry, I just wanted to ask your thought on that, but so after that night you guys start getting more serious, and like you said, you were like, okay, I gotta chill out with this stuff, I gotta clean it up, was that kind of the process that happened there, or like how did it?
It was it's kind of a fast process too. You just cut communication, right? You just separate yourself, and I think it was before then. My brother already came out here to Texas.
Okay.
And they're it was around that point they're pushing me to get out here too. 'Cause my brother he kind of dropped weight and came out here, right? And and so you got these city slickers come out here. I think my brother drove like a new Jaguar out here and shiny. Like I said, he was a shiny one, right? And came out to West Texas, right? And oil field and
stand out for sure.
And so he went straight to oil field, man. And
and
at this point, he was an engineer for a company, and he was making great money. And he was sending me pictures of his check, right? And I was like, oh man. And he's like, and I remember his words like, "This is legit money, this is legal."
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, but I was still wrapping up my fire stuff. I think at this time, I got shot, and I was still wrapping up my associates for fire science. And so it's funny people talk about speaking, and speaking's a real fear, like public speak. Yeah. So imagine this, man. I got out of the hospital, and I had a cotton patch over my eye. And I had to go for my final exam at this fire academy thing. I had to go give a public speech, but it was you're doing like a five alarm call, so you're handling all this stuff, right? So I'm sitting in front of the class, in front of this, the other people there, and the chief or the captain, and I'm going for it, man. I'm doing a great job. I'm on the radio. You're kind of doing a scenario thing, and everybody gets quiet and they just look at me, and they're like, I see the eyes get kind of big, and I didn't know what was going on, right? Because I still can't to this day. I can't really feel a lot of my face, my left side. There's just nerves. Well, I guess I had blood just running down. I couldn't feel it. Yeah. So of course everybody's like, "What's this guy doing?" And I just kind of wipe it, and I'm like, "Oh shit!" And I just finish, and so public speaking, kind of the fear, is kind of going away quick.
And I'm sure that was an adjustment too, right? To like, because like you said, man, you didn't even feel it, and man, what was that like? I guess that adjustment, because I mean, it's not, you lost an eye, and I came out of a coma, and I mean, I guess you had this plan and trajectory, and then this thing happens. Yeah, and so a lot of adjustment.
Yeah. Of course, at any age, your face, people calling sick from work for a big pimple or something. You're just your self-awareness, right?
Right.
And now there's this big patch and this and that, and so there's a lot of struggle.
Man.
A lot of struggle. Went to go see a psychiatrist or a psychologist and all that. And I got actually the psychiatrist I got kicked out of there. They called security. that's where they're testing you, right? They're seeing how far they can push you. I felt like, and that didn't go too
Wow.
well. I went to go to talk to a psychologist, but it was at a dang police office, like a police base.
Yeah.
And they started asking you real questions, And I was like, yeah, I'm not answering any of
You're
those
like,
questions, right? Yeah.
I'm not talking to that guy.
Yeah,
That's
good
crazy.
luck there, man. So they gave me a couple pointers here and there that I stuck to and helped. And my wife she did her due diligence, and
Wow.
she helped me through it, some things, man. I was struggling, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those things you deal with people that may have lost a loved one or been through a tragic accident. And it's, you unless you've walked a little bit in their shoes, it's hard to actually be there, right?
For sure.
Understand the true trauma that's going on, or true thoughts.
Yeah.
And you see things differently. But yeah, there were some things I had to work through that. But you work through them, right? And time definitely goes on, and you keep pushing. So
yeah, man.
But yeah, the simple things, the physical stuff, right? I mean,
Right.
your distance, they have you kind of touch objects and points and learning. So it wasn't just the mental stuff; it was also little physical stuff.
things.
And,
Yeah.
oh, and at the point at around that time, we didn't know when I got to the hospital, but it had ripped through all the muscles in my jaw, right?
Oh,
so
wow.
the way your jaw works. And so the muscles had grown together tight, so I couldn't open my mouth.
Oh, man.
And we didn't know that. Everybody's worried about my eyes, right? Because in the hospital, they said I'll be blind. They said I'll be in a wheelchair. They said I'll probably have the mentality of a child.
Dang.
So you're hearing all this worst.
Yeah.
And so we're just trying to patch holes and get through it. And we didn't find out that I couldn't eat, man. I couldn't put my finger in my mouth.
Yeah.
And so I went to go see a doctor, and he's like, well, he was a cool guy. I wish I knew his name. I would thank him. He's an old school doctor, military doctor. And he said, we can go through. We'll recut you. You have a big scar on your face, and I'm already scarred up. And he's like, or he went and got like a bunch of tongue depressors, those wooden tongue depressor things, like lollipop things. And he's like, take these and just start shoving them in your mouth, man. Start stretching it out. And so that's where I got addicted to the gym again. I go into steam sauna, so no one could see me. I had my hoodie on. And so I'm wearing a sweater, a hoodie in the steam sauna, right?
Dang.
But no one could see in there, and I'll just start shoving popsicle sticks in, or those tongue depressors. I think I fit like 2 or 3 when I started.
So
And
just
then
a lot of training. And
Yeah, just stretching that sucker out. So
Dang,
a lot of
dude.
headaches. You're just ripping the muscle while you're doing.
Yeah.
But I'll go in there and do my own little workouts every day, and it got through it.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, a lot of physical, mental. Growing.
I'm sure that was like I said, an adjustment and just a difficult time. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
Learn how to talk. Yeah.
You had your support system and your friends and like you said,
Yeah.
Brenda and so that's and even I'm sure like just your mom praying
Great
for
support.
you.
Yeah, my mom there 100 times. And it was a little wild. The first couple weeks I was out of the hospital, I was getting phone calls at the middle of the night. Saying they're gonna come get me and this and that. And
Oh wow.
and that was I think one that started the first time I started hearing the other side too.
Yeah.
I'd get phone calls at 2 or 3 in the morning. And it'd be such fury and anger. They weren't even speaking English anymore. It was like it wasn't even a language almost. They're just, you can hear them spitting through it. And I'll talk crap back, right? Hey,
Right.
man, you already tried that. Come try again, type of thing. I'll start talking back. And then it would get so mad to where I knew it wasn't a person on the other end of the line.
Yeah.
I knew for a fact it wasn't a person. And then
Wow.
I got to start praying, and I started praying about it. And so, and then, my mom and dad's house had got shot up a couple weeks after that. And
Oh man.
it was a little wild for a second, but then God just kind of gave the peace. Little by
Yeah.
little, God started bringing peace, and the fear went away of a lot of things, and
Yeah, praise God.
and whatnot. But yeah, get through. Yeah, like I said, mom's prayers and dad's support and everybody,
That's awesome,
and
dude.
a lot of big sports. My boys, my friends.
Yeah.
You got to have boys that make jokes at you. If you go
Right.
through something serious, they got to show up and talk trash, man. Because
Yeah.
that'll get you through bad days, right?
Mm.
And then of course, my now wife, just showing the love and patience,
Mm.
So that I feel I didn't deserve. It's like, man, people just showed out. That was awesome.
And so what does the journey look like for you? I guess when did you and Brenda get married, and how'd you guys get out here and move out here, kind of thing?
Yeah, we got married. I was 24.
Okay.
And we finally said, let's try it. Let's get out of here. Let's do something. And
Yeah.
and we came here.
Real quickly, how did you propose? How did that go?
Yeah, man, I proposed. So my wife Brenda, she's youngest of 13.
Oh, okay.
Youngest of 13, right?
Yeah.
Big old Mexican family, and
Yeah.
and,
The baby, bro, in a big Mexican
yeah,
family.
good luck there, right? And she got,
Dude.
it's like half and half,
Yeah.
brothers and sisters, and they're all
Yeah.
older, and some are older, right? She
Yeah.
got brothers that are, right now are 6 years old or whatnot, and
Mhm.
and so I did the right thing, man. I went and asked all of them, right?
Wow.
As much as I could, I asked them and
There you go.
got their blessings. Went and asked
Yeah.
their mom and dad, Hama and Apa, and she had a brother visiting because they're all originally from California, right?
Okay.
Mexico to California, and
Yeah.
she had a brother visiting from California, and I asked him to translate clearly, right? So, my Spanish ain't the best, but I was like, I need you to clearly say when I went to ask for a hand from her dad, and he did, and it was kind of a shocker, and he said no right away.
The dad?
Yeah, he said he was sitting there
dad?
chopping something, or cooking something, right? And he had a big old knife in his hand. He said no, and but I understand his dad. I understand his dad. That was his baby, and they have a special bond, man. And, and he said no, but he eventually said yes at the same time, and it was just his baby, and I get it, but thank God he said yes, and so I went to propose. I did it. If you know us or about us, man, we're all about family, dude. We love having everybody at the house, and so I got pizza. Sardella's Pizza, my favorite pizza out there in Phoenix.
Let's go.
I got pizza and wings, man. It's got a bunch of it, and I invited everybody, my family, her family, all the boys, to the park. The park, man, and there's a bench that we'd always meet at. We had like our own little special bench, right?
Yeah.
The whole cutie thing, right? So if we're arguing or fussing or fighting, we're like, hey, meet me at the bench. We'll go hash it out late nights, as kids, and so we met at the bench, man, and I asked her for a hand right there in front of everybody. Yeah. And it was just a good time. We just had a good time at the park, man.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, you're always a little nervous. Yeah. If anybody says they're not, they're lying.
Right.
You're always a little nervous, but it was solid, dude.
Do you think she had any idea that you were gonna?
She didn't, which is crazy. No? She didn't. No, her friend, Elisa. I had made shirts for us, like matching shirts.
There you
Corny,
go.
bro. I know, but
dang, bro.
But it was fun.
No, that's
cool,
effort.
Though. Yeah, I made some.
Give me ideas now.
There you go. I made matching shirts. I still have them to this day, man.
Yeah.
I took it to her house. Her friend took her to her house and said, hey, put the shirt on and let's go meet us at the park. And I was sitting there waiting for her. But the cool thing about it, Ace, and you'll understand this one day. I know you will. Is that we're dating, we have a relationship, but the day I knew, and you'll hear that from people that are married. Like when you know. Yeah. I was getting my hair cut, man, at the barbershop, and it was like, I know.
Dang.
And it wasn't like I've known, so to speak, before that, but it was like almost a conviction, almost like the Lord convicts you, right? Like you're like, I got to do this.
I have to.
I do it now. Like I got to hurry up.
Nothing else.
Yeah. And I think it was that week. I think that day I went home to my parents, and then I want to say that week or next week I started asking her family.
Wow.
And I knew, man. And we had a great marriage, man. We did the whole thing, man. We did the church and.
Yeah, and so you're 24.
Yeah.
When y'all got married. Mm-hmm. Okay. Dang. And I'm sure you guys said you both love family, so it was a big celebration.
Yeah, big family, yeah.
That's cool, dude.
Yeah, groomsmen and what do you call them, bridesmaids? We had, I don't know, I think I had like 10 or 12 or something. It was big. We did it big,
That's
man.
awesome,
we had fun.
man.
I was still kind of ghetto, right? I was away from a lot of stuff, right? I made sure and washed my hands, but this is just a ghetto little proper collar thing. But I had hookups everywhere, right? So like if you wanted shrimp, if you wanted steaks or champagne or anything, I had my guys, right?
You started your hookups. Yeah, that's sick.
So I don't think anyone really caught this, but I had like, I forget how many bottles, man, 20 or 30 bottles or something of Dom Perignon, right? It was like a nice champagne.
Dang.
But being us who we were like, it could have been a Bud Light, we didn't care.
Right.
But to me, I thought it was super cool. It was super ghetto. My wife's skin shaking her head like, this dude watching this thing.
She's like, the detail you put.
Yeah, I had to, right? Because to me, that's cool, right? But it's ghetto. But anyway, had a great wedding, man. Great wedding. And just wish we could do it again. And weddings go fast. You plan all this for one day, and that day goes quick.
Dude.
That night, me and her almost were like trying to be cool, that we're like jacuzzi suite and all that. And I think we sat there for like 2 minutes. We're like, dude, we're gonna drown if we say because we're tired, right? We're like falling asleep.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot. It's a beautiful day though. Beautiful day.
Dang,
she was gorgeous. Never forget her walking down the aisle, and when you know, it's a blessing. So.
Dang. So
we come out here. We come out here and start our family, dude.
Was it your brother? You were like, you know what, the oil field that looks good.
Yeah, and it wasn't. Yeah, it was that, and it was like, man, let's just try something. Let's go get it. We always told ourselves we'll give ourselves a year and we'll come back. And so we told everybody when we left, we'll give ourselves a year, we'll come back. And everybody's like, yeah, or not, or hopefully you do. And that year has turned into 16. Here we are. But we lived with my brother and his wife at the time for like a month. Mm-hmm. And we were both working out here in Midland, so that drive felt like days, right? From Andrews to here.
Oh, dude.
It felt like days, bro.
Well, and there's nothing out there, so...
Yeah, it's only like 30 minutes, but dude, it felt like days, man. So we're like, we got to get to Midland, man. So we rented this house, man. This is cool, man. This is where God just started showing himself, man. And really to my wife, too. She's a prayer warrior, man. She goes in her closet. She goes in her war room, which is a shower.
Yeah.
She goes in her war room, man, and starts talking to God, and God just like delivers. You know, it was
Dude,
wild, dude. Like I said, I'll let her tell her testimony because it's amazing.
Yeah.
But from little things, and so try to fast forward it, man. Just moving out here, it was beautiful for her because God's showing up, but it was refining for me. Because I went to only having an hourly job, you know, and not having any outside hustle, right? 'Cause since I was 15 or 16, I always had a job, but I called it when I clock out at work, I call it clocking in, right? Like, all right, clocked out, now I'm going to clock in, and you know, I always wanted cash in my pocket, type of thing, go hustle. None of that out here, so it's cold turkey, man. I'm working 120 hours a week, which I thought was illegal. I never heard of that.
Yeah, dude.
You know, coming to Texas, I was like, this is illegal.
Yeah,
that's freaking out because I never wore steel-toe boots. I never wore coveralls. You know,
the FR and all that.
Yeah, never. I didn't. All that stuff was so new. The size of the grasshoppers out here, bro.
Okay.
So I'm telling you how foreign I felt, right? I was sweeping a shop. I started as a shop hand out here in Midland, Texas, and I was on the phone with my boys back home, and I heard a. And I was like looking around, and the grasshopper, dude. I was like, bro, it's like I moved out here to like what I call it. I moved to Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park. I didn't realize that they were that big everywhere.
Yeah, maybe that time I don't know, but it was just it was so foreign. But there was a lot of pruning, man. Again, I always had, going back to simple things, man. Cars. I always had cars at my hands, just for whatever. And I came out here with one car, so I started getting rides to work. I was getting a ride to work for the first 3 or 4 years, I want to say. Got a company truck after that point, and so a lot of pruning on my side, man. And then I felt like it was being tested, struggling, right, financially. Getting our first home and kids coming, and I remember telling my wife a couple of times, like, I just need like 1 month. I mean, take a month off, go to Phoenix, come back, and there's stuff I've already done. People owe me money. I said to go pick it up, and she was like, nope, you better not, And she held her feet down, and we just pushed through it. And God showed us that He's our provider. Yeah, man. And He still is to this day. But He made it very clear that I'm your provider.
Yeah, wow. That's even a cool moment for, man. You were like, dude, I could just go get the money, right? And like, for Brenda to be like, no, that's awesome. That. Yeah. Even like right there, God is just working through your wife and your life, And
I like to hear her side because she, she had to have seen the pruning process. And it was really like that the picture you get, like that mold, like making your new body out of the mold.
You feel like it's just, you kind of grow up a little more too throughout that process.
Yeah, 100%. As a man, spiritual started coming. But I was and again, it's we talk about culture and you're never alone. You go through this together, and you surround yourself with good people. I was surrounded by good men. I mean, I'm talking about honest working men out here in Midland, great guys out here. You know that God, I thank God for them. Daily, and they weren't holy gospel Bible thumping dudes at all. But they're just men. Yeah. And straight shooters and good men. I thank God for it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So you get to Midland, you guys both have a job here, and you're living in Andrews, and you're driving to Midland, and so and then you said you guys started renting a house here.
Yeah, renting a house. Yep, renting a house. I think little Aaron was coming, or he was already here. Yeah. And the rent was up, and the landlord told us, like, I want to sell the house. Like, I don't want to rent no more. So we're freaking out. We do like us Mexicans do, right? We at this point we had family move in with us. They're getting on their feet too out here. So we had a full house, man. Kids everywhere. I forget how many were in there. Probably 10 of us. Wow. And so now a little stressed, right? Like, what are we gonna do? We gotta find a new house, and which was really neat because my wife went to prayer in her prayer closet, and she just asked for God to open our doors, and I want her to say, 'cause she's got the details, but that next day after her prayer closet, she offered us the house to buy it. Wow. And I was like, or even before that, when we went to go rent this house, there was people there. It was when Midland's crazy, right? There's like a bidding process for rental.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so people were there, and I think say rent was like $1,000, and we're like, oh man, we can't afford that. I was making like $14 an hour, $14.50 or something like that. And people were there like, we'll give you $1,200, we'll give you $1,300 a month, we'll give you $1,500. It's just how Midland is. Wow. Yeah. And we're like, well, that ain't gonna happen. Dang. And she called us back, and she's like, of all the people, I want you guys to rent. So that was a prayer answer from my wife. And then when the house came up, she wanted to sell it. She offered it to us first. Dang. Another prayer answered. And then awesome. At this point, my wife's not working, though. It's just me, my one income. Okay. I'm making $14.50 an hour or something like that, right? Dang, and again, thoughts, intrusive thoughts of going back and getting money real quick, and struggle. My wife just went to her prayer closet, man, and so we're gonna pray about it. And long story short, we got the house. We bought our first home out here. little home, and so we're able to all of us stay in that place, and
That's awesome.
That house is beautiful, worked out for us.
Yeah.
And I forget where I'm going with this, but yeah, just he's providing.
Yeah.
all
So
the way.
he's and so even then God's answering prayers, providing. And then what was, I guess, were you going to church at this time, or were you like here in Midland? And
Yeah.
how was your faith during this time?
Yeah. I'm still struggling, man. I'm a knucklehead, right?
Yeah. Oh, not
faith,
yet, you're a knucklehead, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
get you.
No, I got you. Yeah, dude, trust me. We're going to church though. We're going
Yeah.
to church. We went to a few different churches out here. Went to one for years.
Okay.
And it's weird how time works, right? Like,
Yeah.
my wife's like, we went there for like 7 years before we came here.
Dang.
And I'm like, it was that long, dude.
Dang.
Like, what the heck, man? Where'd the time go?
It just.
Yeah, but and this is cool because I want to put it on me, right? We're at a church for 6 or 7 years, and we never got plugged in, and we had to talk, my wife and I, and we talked about this when we came here, and we went there for 6, 7 years, but I couldn't tell you anyone's name, and maybe no one could tell you my name there, you know, and it wasn't. I'm not saying it's their fault,
Right.
I'm saying I'll put the blame on me, and that's coming from a dude like I said I can talk to the wall, right?
Yeah.
So I put the blame all on me, but we never got plugged in, we never served, we never. And we had tons of spiritual experiences and in church, and I was never big into my Bible, and but there's still things going on, man. There's still prayers being answered, and we're praying, and there's still struggle too, right? I'll say me personally, I never gave mental, what do you call it? Like not mental stress, but like mental illness or mental. When you hear people say like need a mental break type of thing,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Of course, I always thought it was a joke and this and that until you actually deal with it.
Yeah, man.
So there's a lot of things going on in our lives, man. Just ups and downs, and
Yeah.
a lot of great, huge blessings, awesome things. And there's also some times where we're like, man, it's just struggling. And we're newlyweds, right? My wife and I we're married, so we go through ups and downs, and but we'd always kind of come around. We always went to church, and again, just never really plugged in. We met great people at some great churches, and we're still friends to this day, and it was amazing. But it's just until we came here, we got plugged in, and it got real. So
so like you said, 6, 7 years, and you didn't get plugged in, and then you're like, yo, I could talk. You had those skills of like making connections and even just like talking to people. Do you think it was like your hesitation? Were you like afraid, or you just didn't want? Was it like, hey, I'm just going to church because I know it's right, but I'm not really committed, kind of thing? What was that process in your head like? What did that? Like?
Me personally, I'll talk about all you know. Me personally is I think there's a lot to it, a lot more to it. I think a lot of it was pride in myself. A lot of it was didn't want people knowing. It's funny saying now on a podcast. I just didn't want people knowing a lot of my details either.
Yeah.
Maybe shame or guilt or. Not only that, I never want it to come out. If I get in detail about certain stories, I never wanted to get in detail. I never want to shame anyone else, especially right, anyone around me or family or friends,
right?
So I'm always, I can talk to Wall about anything, right? I can, if I'm talking to you, I'm gonna talk to you about anything.
Yeah,
we'll talk for hours. But when it comes to me, there's certain things I just, again, shame, pride, all that stuff kind of pops up, and I kind of want to shelter it, So I don't want it to come out wrong either,
right? And so that's what kind of kept you hesitant from being connected. Because I think about people who maybe you're even listening to this and, they're like, man, I go to a church, but I couldn't tell you anybody's name kind of thing. And it's like, and I guess we'll get there when we talk about you coming to real church. But so you're going there for a while. And I guess, when did you hear about Real Church? What was it?
Yeah, cool.
What was your life looking like at that time?
Yeah, let's fast forward to the good stuff, right? Let's talk about where things get good, get real, right? A real church.
Yeah.
Again, my wife, man, me not being the man and shepherding us correctly, she took the bull by the horns, and she's I think she YouTubed you. She saw Real Church on YouTube, I want to say.
Okay, yeah.
And at this time, I don't know, I guess you can say we're kind of church shopping or whatever, we're like, looking for a place, so to speak. And there was times where like we weren't going to church, on Sundays, or I started finding it easy, like, let's sleep in or whatever. And we just weren't engaged at all, again, not to say the fault of the churches. It was just, could have been, I think it was my fault. Excuse me. But we came here, we tried it out. We're like, all right, let's try it. And the 4 of us came, me, my wife, my kids. And that first visit, man, I think it was our first service here in this building.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And so we walked in, dude, and it was, it was good.
Yeah.
And we walked out, and we had the usual family talk. Like, what do y'all think? You know, we're driving back home. What do y'all think? And we all 100% agree. Like, that's home.
Wow.
That's where we're going. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Dang.
we haven't stopped coming since. You know.
Yeah.
And it's been a home church. Like, again, it was the people, it was the welcoming, it was the love, it was the, you know, you just felt at home.
Yeah.
You know, there's a real genuine, just genuinity to it, or I don't know how to say it. People are genuine, real love. You know, like you said, and I laugh now because I talk to people about real church and like real church. Oh, so you guys are the only real church,
right?
I'm like, man, let's come try it out, and they'll try it out, man. They're like, oh, okay, I see, it's real. You guys are real.
Yeah,
you know,
and I think it's. Pastor Carlos says it all the time, man. We really care about people. Like, you know, we don't want to be just pretenders.
Right,
and so,
right.
You know, it's just, man, it's just something that as a church we want to do that. We want to really care about people and love people, and because it matters, you know, and it's like you were able to. You said, man, hey, this is home, and so, so you guys visit, right? And I guess what does your walk with God look like at this time? Like, are you feel like you're really committed? Because I know you said, because I asked you earlier, and you're like, honestly, it wasn't until real church, and so.
No, this is again, I'll try to tiptoe around some recent stuff, but this was no, I was struggling.
Okay, yeah.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
Hardcore struggling, man. I just went through a thing in my life where it was tough, and I knew we needed to get to church, so I'm not gonna say like I just threw God out and all this. I knew I needed to get to church. I knew what I needed to do.
Yeah.
But I just know how. I guess I didn't know how to do it.
Right.
And again, I didn't want to let go of some things, and the anger showed up again in my life. It's always kind of been there, but it was quiet for a long time, years now.
Yeah.
The violence was gone. You know, like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I just want to watch how I say this. I let it back in.
Okay.
You know, some stuff happened in business. I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Wronged by several people.
Yeah.
And that familiar spirit came back, and I let it come back, and I wanted it to come back.
Yeah.
And then I liked it back, and now I wanted to act on it. And so I was struggling. This was in October, I think, we came here.
Okay.
And this was like a month after I got wronged, right? And so I was struggling, man. I was struggling bad, and I don't mind saying, because I've talked to my family through this. You know, I'm very, very open and honest. And, and I talked to my family through what I was going through, and I was struggling. Drinking. Never been a big weed smoker, man. But I, you know, never been a big weed smoker, but I was started smoking and pills and drinking a lot every day, and I thought I could hide it, and I never took it home. Like, the kids might not know. I don't know. My wife knew. You know, my wife knows everything, right? Yeah. But I thought I hid it well. Never been violent at the house or anything, or loud, you know. And speaking of that, let's go on a relationship real quick. My wife and I, 16 years, we have our fusses and fights. We argue, but we have our rules, and we never cuss. We never call each other names, and we and so there's always been boundaries, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, make boundaries in relationships, man.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah.
And respect it, and not only respect it, but honor it, you know.
Yeah.
And I know I can't cross that line for her. I know she can't cross the line for me.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from, but make boundaries and step by it, and it helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wouldn't never. I thought I hit it well, but I was enjoying this familiar spirit.
Yeah.
I was playing with it, and then it started taking over, right? So now it's at a tipping point. When I came to visit here, I was struggling with this, and it was a tipping point to where I let him in too much, and I know where he goes.
Yeah.
I know where I go when I get there. And so that's when I guess the drug use. It sounds bad, but it was what it was. I was drinking and popping pills to knock myself out to suppress that beast in me, right?
Yeah.
It was like if you're starving and you want to eat a cheeseburger or something, right? I mean, I felt it in my jaws. You know, when you like a sour pickle or something, right? You can feel it in your teeth.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like that, right?
Wow.
That beast wanted to eat, and I wanted to eat too. And I was letting it go too far.
Yeah.
And so now I was going too far to where now I'm a husband and a parent. So if I act on how I know how to act, I know where that's going too, right? And so now I'm trying to just, that's when, I don't know if you can say on YouTube, but I was struggling with hurting myself at that point.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily like a poor me. It was like, I need to put this dog down, you know, before I go bite, because mentally I already planned it out. Mentally I know what to do. and it was very personal at that point. And
Yeah.
so I was struggling, man, nightly, struggling, knocking myself out, literally knocking myself out, blacking out to
Wow.
where I just want to go, man. I want to
Wow.
eat, and
Yeah.
it's scary because we can get a sermon about this, but music I was listening to. I started kind of trying to cut that out because there's certain songs I can pinpoint, and we'll talk after this, but certain songs by well-known people that it was like what was in me was communicating, and I can feel it, I
Yeah.
can see it, and it was like, and
Right.
I saw the spirit in the person
Wow.
in the video or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay, that's a real one, what he's talking about is real.
Yeah.
I know it's real.
Right.
It's one of the whole been there, done that type of thing. It's almost like a comrade, like a buddy, right, in war.
Right.
You see each other after years, like, all right, man, let's go get it again. Let's
Yeah.
go back to war.
Yeah.
It was just this warring going on, and I was trying to kill it. And so that's where I was at mentally.
Wow.
Going back to the question, that's where I was at mentally, physically, spiritually. I was warring, man. It was
Yeah.
I was that cross on 181. That was my spot.
Yeah.
I'd go there with drinks and hash it out with the
Wow.
Bible too.
Yeah.
I was just so confused at a certain point
Yeah.
to where I was trying to pray this out, and then I'd turn on the music or whatever, and I'd start drinking, and then it was just I was worn with that, with that the internal.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome to think like you're struggling with all this, and man, God has the answers, like because of the seeds that were planted in your life.
Yeah.
To the point where you're taking drinks there, and you got your Bible, and
Oh, I did a lot more than that. I was I was having out with God. I was wrestling with God, warring with Him, and it was tough, man. It was tough. I was worn out. I was
well, and there's this like spiritual war happening too, because you said it earlier, and I guess I just want to take some time to explain as well for the people that are listening. You said, man, there was this like familiar spirit. I think you were, man, this was like spiritual warfare, big time.
Yeah.
I think happening in your own life,
Yeah.
in your own heart at the time, and the way you said it too. I think whenever this topic comes up, people get scared because it's like, the aspect and the topic of spiritual warfare can get very there's people can get weird about it, but I think like you said it perfectly. Like, dude, I opened those doors. I allowed the access. I allowed the enemy to have room that he shouldn't have had, and so, but it wasn't like this. I don't know. There was definitely that war there, that spiritual war there, but it, and that's what you mean by when you said familiar spirit. Like you were just. Man, there was these access, this doors that you gave it, through whether that like personal sin or things like that, or even just false beliefs that you were believing at the time, right?
Yep.
And so, what was that process of God setting you free from that? Like how did that go?
Let's go, man. This is where it gets good, right?
Yeah.
And again, I try to say this. I'll try to keep it vague for protection for anything, but this when it got real. I got baptized.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. First time here is October.
Mm-hmm.
Struggling like crazy. And of course, it's the holidays, right? So we got November. We're back in Phoenix for Thanksgiving. December, we got Christmas. And I'm just going through it. I think I can hide it well here and there, but man, going through it.
Yeah.
Battling, dude. Bad. Bad. And then this was so now we're in January. January 22nd was I got baptized.
Yeah.
And I hope this don't come off wrong, man.
Mm-hmm.
But I still didn't respect it.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it came up. Sounded cool. I don't want to say sounded cute. I know it was real, but my family's here, and I'm like, my thoughts was, for one, Pastor was wearing a Cowboys jersey. I was wearing a Cowboys jersey.
Let's go.
And so I was like, all right, it's the stars were lining up.
Yeah.
Literally. But no, it was my thought process was like, all right, I'm gonna jump in the water. I didn't really know. I didn't do no study on baptism, all this and that. And for you guys out there that might be thinking about it or whatnot, like, I hope you hear my testimony. I didn't give it any respect. Didn't do no studying.
Well,
I thought I was going to jump in the water and start to get better. Okay, I'll jump in the water and I'll chill out on my drinking. I'll stop with the pills. I'll stop smoking.
Yeah.
Or I'll slow down.
Yeah.
I'll stop. I'll slow down.
Yeah.
And not only that, I was hoping that I can start going to church a little more. Like I knew, deep down I knew I needed to go to church and whatnot. But again, not necessarily playing church, but it just wasn't all the way real to me yet.
Yeah.
Okay. That comes in big. It wasn't real to me yet.
Yeah.
So but I knew I wanted to do it also for my family, right? So we had talked as a family, and we talked about it before, and I got baptized with Pastor Carlos.
Wow.
Turned around and baptized my wife the same day.
Yeah.
Baptized my wife, and we baptized our kids.
Yeah.
And I wish somebody would have warned me that you're dealing with with the realness of it, right?
Yeah.
And my mom, she told me the next day that she's like, "Oh, I knew it was gonna happen," because I had an episode that night, and where it got real. And my mom, she's like, "Oh, I knew it was gonna happen. It's not that fast,
Yeah.
to where you're shaking the spirit realm and
Wow.
and talking about spiritual warfare."
Yeah.
And I would hear about it. And like I said, growing up, man, I'd see some things, some shadows, and,
Right.
and this and that, and felt stuff and whatnot. But the night I got baptized it was real.
Yeah.
At the end of the night, I had a 3-hour battle in the spirit realm,
Oh wow.
spirit and physical.
Yeah. Yeah.
3-hour knockdown, drag out battle. At the end of it, all I can say is it's real. Like the Bible's real. Every
Yeah.
word in it is real.
That's
the
crazy.
spiritual warfare is real.
Yeah.
But yeah, 3-hour knockdown, drag out fight, man. And I can get a little into that. It was at the house, right? So it was at the house. Got baptized, church, man. Holy Sundays, man. You go to church, get baptized, you go eat.
Yeah.
Life is good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you ain't got to worry about nothing else ever
Right.
again. God's got you.
Yeah.
So that wasn't it. The kids went to bed early, kind of early. It was kind of weird. They're both asleep. I don't even know what time it was, honestly. It had to have been 7 or so, 8 maybe. Kids were asleep. My wife just went in the shower, and I was going to go spark one up real quick because I haven't had anything in me for like 2 days, right?
Yeah.
No alcohol, no pills, no bud. And I was like, man, I'm just going to smoke just to sleep,
Yeah.
And sitting on my bed sitting on the bed in the bedroom, lights are on, kids are asleep, close the door, my wife's in the shower. Before I can even spark it up, man, here it comes. The battle was on,
Yeah.
I feel God revealed the eyes of my heart, right, like the song, and He showed me the spiritual side.
Yeah.
I got to see it, hear it, feel it for 3
Yeah.
hours.
Wow.
I saw it come in, and it was one of those where like I'm like, I ain't even hit this yet.
Yeah,
I ain't
yeah.
tripping. I know there's
You're like,
nothing was
yo,
this.
what
Like, I ain't
happened?
tripping.
Right.
I've never done like psychedelics or anything like that. So
Yeah.
so I don't know. Kind of rewind actually. Before this experience, I was getting really into. I was diving into researching the whole DMT.
Okay.
What's that called? DMT.
Yeah,
The
like-
whole trip you go do.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, like ayahuasca and all that.
All that, man. I was in
Yeah.
it. I actually went on a couple websites and
Oh wow.
was going to sign myself up, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
I was dealing with this. I was very. I don't know if you can say this on YouTube. Very suicidal for a while. Just these couple months, and again trying to kill that beast. Nothing like not for
Right.
me. I need to put that dog down.
Right.
So I was dealing with that and all this stuff, and so I went on these websites, and went on one in particular. I won't say who it was, but very well known. You go to Mexico for like a trip, and you start going through and talk to a counselor to see if that's something that you need.
Yeah.
Just more geared towards like some veterans, and whatnot
Yeah.
that are dealing with things. And man, I checked every box.
Wow.
Talked to somebody like, you need to get here,
Yeah.
stat. You need to hurry up.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the experiences, what it does, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, so I knew I was gearing towarred that. I
Wow.
talked to my wife briefly about it, and she's like, "If you need to go, we need to get you out there."
Mm-hmm.
And well, everything you talk about, if you study that stuff, I have my own feelings about that. That could be another talk, but everything that they talk about and everything, I went through that night
Wow.
without the stuff.
Without it.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And God said, "Hey man, you're playing a little too much." Maybe that was the timing too,
Right.
but I had the exact same experience those people have. I had,
Wow.
but just 100% sober.
Yeah. And I think it's crazy. You were looking for, because at the time you said, man, I knew God was there, but it wasn't real to me yet. And so you're like, man, I need healing from this, right? I need sort of this,
Yes.
I need to be delivered from
Yes.
this, And I think even God, through what you went through that night, it's completely sober, is showing you, man, He's the one that does it in your life.
100%.
Right? Like, because people who don't know God have these experiences with drugs or whatever it might be,
Yeah.
to try and get relief from the pain that they're going through or the struggles. And I think God in this moment shows up for you, right? And
Yeah.
so it was just heavy. You said you said it was like 3 hours.
Yeah,
Right?
I'll give you a couple quick details
Yeah.
that were kind of highlights.
Yeah.
Came in, I saw an evil spirit, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then I saw a spirit of light too.
Yeah.
Came on this side.
Wow.
So I'm sitting on the bed. Then I sit up in bed, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, what's going on? And I just hear them going at it. I hear the evil spirit going at it.
Yeah.
And his main thing was he was so angry. Again, the voice I heard 20 years ago after I got shot was the same kind of voice, just spewing anger.
Wow.
And a lot of confirmation of this. So I know the experience was what it was.
Yeah.
A lot of confirmation. So this spirit was saying he was so mad I wasn't dead yet.
Wow.
Because his plan was to kill me. Like I said,
Yeah.
I've been suicidal for a couple months now.
Yeah.
And he was so mad that I wasn't dead. And he went back to before I was born. So
Mm-hmm.
I can hear them arguing. I'm kind of like, hey, man, I'm right here,
Yeah.
And I can hear them arguing. He was arguing, really. Or the spirit was. And he brought stuff that I didn't know.
Wow.
So he brought back before I was born.
Okay.
How they wanted me gone, right?
Right.
And his words verbatim was, I tried to kill him before he was even born.
Wow.
And then it kind of went through my life, like quick snaps of my life with asthma. A few years after I was born, my grandmother passed away.
Oh man.
And I was in the hospital at the time, and I was probably 3, I think. And they postponed her funeral because they said I wasn't going to make it. So they actually planned to bury us together, right? Which is wild to think. But he brought that up, right?
Yeah.
So man, before I was born,
Yeah.
after I was born, all grown up through with asthma, car wrecks,
Yeah.
the gunshots. He went through everything,
Right.
and even things that I hadn't seen, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, before I was born, and things that I never experienced, but I know, like he was saying, I've tried to kill him all of his life.
Wow.
COVID, I got COVID real bad. He brought up COVID. I was in the hospital for a week, and I thought I wasn't gonna make it.
Oh man.
Right? He brought that up, and he was just so angry that I wasn't dead yet. You
Yeah.
know? And so he said, tonight's the night.
Dang.
And he explained exactly how, and he explained his whole plan.
Yeah, that's
He
crazy.
laid his whole plan out, and I'll leave it there
Yeah.
for the sake of that come out later. But
Yeah.
he detailed what he was gonna do that night and how I was gonna do it. He was gonna make me do it.
Wow.
And now it got scary, right? And
Yeah.
he said, I'm gonna get into him. I'm gonna get to his mind, and he's gonna do it tonight. And kind of like this is the final battle, so to speak, right?
Wow.
And so now I'm like, okay, what's going on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then I felt him come in. And I felt it come in my hand, coming like wanting to go to my head type of thing. And now I'm standing up. Now I stand up quick, and now I panic. Like I said, I've been through a lot in life, right? Been through a lot of tough situations, scary stuff, but I was
Yeah.
never scared.
Yeah.
Never had like a fear.
Wow. Yeah.
Now fear gripped me.
Yeah.
God was like, okay, I'm gonna let you see, man.
Wow.
So fear, dude, fear. I can't say enough to my bones, to my heart. Like I was like, oh my God. When I heard the plans he had, and now it's actually implementing, and
Yeah.
fear.
Fear.
So now I sit up and I'm ready to fight. Like you're about to get in a fight, I'm amped up. I'm like, now I panic because I'm like, and I did something real quick. I have a gun by the side of my bed, right?
Yeah.
If you're in Texas, you have a gun by the side of
Yeah,
your bed, I'm
but
sure.
then- Yeah.
So I got the gun. I was able to empty it. That was hard because I was fighting it. Physically, I felt it. And mentally, I was like, so anyway, got that done. And then I panicked still because I'm like, how do I asked God. Now I started like, God, how do I fight this, right? And he started showing me how to fight the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
And no funny business. It was all 100% business. The fight was
Yeah.
on. I was getting my butt kicked, right?
Yeah.
But he started kind of showing me like through prayer, through my word,
Yeah.
through communion,
Yeah.
through worship.
Wow.
And so like he's just downloading how to fight,
Yeah.
which sounds cool if you're going into a battle. But I'm getting my
Right.
butt. I'm in the middle, like I'm round 2,
Yeah.
just getting beat up. And so I panicked, man.
Yeah.
I have a little library type of thing on the side of my bed, and I grab a Bible. Well, it's a zip up Bible, right? And I'm it's like getting beat up and trying to take a drink of water or something, Like I panic. I throw that Bible out and I grab a couple other Bibles and I just open them. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I start reading, right? And getting beat up, dude.
Yeah.
And then I had an extra little communion cup from church,
Yeah, okay.
little cracker and juice. And I don't know how I confiscated it from church that day, but it ended up at my house, and
Snuck it out.
it was God's design, right? Because it was right there
Wow.
on my kitchen counter.
That's crazy.
So it took me minutes to get there. I took there to communion, came back. By that point, I'm praying now. Now I'm praying to God, and it's all in the mind. This is warfare. I see it and I feel it, and I'm trying to read the Bible. I'm on my knees, and He said, "You need to go purge." You know, like you need to go get that stuff out of you that you've been letting in, like you said. And so I go to the bathroom and I purge, and physically I see stuff come out, and it's labeled. So I see like the black mass come out and it says anger, you know.
Wow.
I see this black mass come out and it's murder. A black mass is, you know, all this like fear. And
Yeah.
I purged about 4 or 5 times and I saw it.
Wow.
But then I went to go flush it. There was nothing in there, right?
Crazy.
So I saw a physical mass. I saw wording on it.
Yeah.
I felt relieved. Like I felt like it just, things were off my shoulders, off my heart.
Yeah.
I purged. I went back to the room, right? So I'm
Yeah.
like battling, go back to the room. And there's a couple of things in the house I need to get rid of, like the bud, and little simple things. Like, dude, I don't live in a mansion, but it took me forever to get out of the house and throw some stuff away.
Yeah.
Come back in, but this time I'm pale, sweaty, on my hands and knees in my bed. My wife is still in the shower, dude. It's like she's taking the longest shower of her life. You know, I'm like, help! I'm getting jumped over here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more detail to him, a lot going
Yeah.
on. But she finally comes out. She finally comes out and sees, and she knew right away what was going on. She's like, yep. It's like, you need to fight this. You know, like this is your battle. And she's able to pray for me. She started playing worship music.
Yeah.
And right before she comes out, this is a crazy part. I'm on my hands and knees.
Yeah.
If you ever seen the movie Avatar?
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's,
It's
I
fire.
don't know if it's good or not. You know, being a church dude, but
Yeah.
but it's look kind of weird. But one of my
Yeah.
favorite movies, dude.
Yeah.
Avatar 1 and 2. Well, anyway, you know that part where like they're like praying to the tree,
Yeah.
they're shaking, all that weird stuff, dude. Straight up Avatar moment.
Okay.
I'm on my hands and knees, Bible's open, took communion, purged, dripping sweat. I raised my hands, man. I started praying.
Wow.
And then I start another language. I'm
Yeah.
like, what the heck? And I can't stop it. And it's
Yeah.
neat when I was going through the experience, I knew what I was doing, but I could not control it.
Yeah.
Not one bit.
Yeah.
So I'm like praying loud in this other language, hands
Right.
raised, and my wife comes out. And I was like, oh my gosh. You know, she walked out seeing me do this weird stuff, and it was embarrassing. I had like a little bit of embarrassment, but I could not stop it.
Yeah.
Completely out of my control.
Yeah.
And she came out and she knew exactly what was going on. She's like, all right. She started praying for me, and we've had conversation at that point. Me and her talked a little bit, and then
Yeah.
I sort of helped. Like I think I told her something, I'm getting attacked or something like that. And she was like, yeah, you are.
Yeah.
So she played some praise and worship. She called my mom, and they were praying for me. And let's try to wrap it up.
Yeah.
This was a couple of hours in, and at the end, God's grace came in, and
Man.
I was exhausted. The battle was won,
Yeah.
and He started pouring blessings at this point. So
Dude.
now I hear the worship music, but I'm able to see it, what
Come
it
on.
is in the spiritual world, you know,
Yeah.
and I see I see a waterfall, and I see
Yeah.
there's colors, and there's so much going on. I'm able to see more in the spiritual realm. I see the world different, and this whole time I'm fading in and out like reality, where I'm like, man, this is embarrassing because my wife's looking at me, and I've never been this open with her, never
Yeah.
been this weird, and but at the same time, like I don't want it to stop. Like, God, please keep filling me
Yeah.
with this, you know, keep showing me.
Yeah.
And at the very end of it, you know, I was praying for wisdom and understanding, weird things I've never said before, and I could not stop saying it's real.
Wow.
I was like, babe, it's real.
That's crazy.
It's real, yeah.
And so you have this basically spiritual warfare moment in your house.
Yeah.
And like, man, this is honestly like the Lord's doing of like setting you free.
Yeah.
You know, of setting you free from this, because you said you were struggling. You had this, you were struggling with self-deletion, so you wanted to like, you know, just end your life, and the Lord shows up faithfully, even through allowing you to go through those things, right? And I think sometimes, like maybe people are gonna hear what you said, your story, and be like, "That's insane. I can't believe that." Right? Like, but honestly, when it comes to the supernatural, it's gonna be a little bit weird.
Right.
I think it's gonna be a little bit, obviously, out of the natural, supernatural and weird. And but I think even the experience you're sharing, like, man, the Lord telling you, you know, to read your word and to pray, and you take communion, and man, and I think it was just even like this moment of deliverance in your life where the Lord set you free. You know, it's something that I don't know that God just did for you, and
Yeah.
you know, I think we hear things like with spiritual warfare, and because there is people out there that can get weird and wacky with it, but
Yeah.
when you hear your story, and even at the end of it, for you to be like, oh, this is real, like, oh snap, this is all
Yeah.
real, the Bible's real. This was that moment, this was that but God moment, and I
Yeah.
think that you had in your life where God shows up.
Yeah.
And I think even in your retelling of the events, man, it's cool to hear your emphasis on. Like, you get really passionate when you talk about, and the Lord showed up and set me free and healed me. And
I'd like to say a lot more. I'd
Yeah,
like to give a lot more detail, but
For sure.
we got to wait for some things to, you know.
yeah, man, no,
But I'll tell you confirmation real quick, man. The confirmation that was real and whatnot, it was the change.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the after effect.
Yeah,
No more anger.
there you go.
You know, no more anger.
Yeah,
No more bad thoughts. No more,
Yeah.
like violence, so to speak, and all that. And
Yeah.
another confirmation, I sent a message out to a couple people that, like I said, I want to put the dog down before I bit.
yeah.
The people wanted to bite, I sent them a text and I forgave them.
Wow.
And that's not me.
Yeah,
I hope y'all know I'm a simple dude, and
Yeah.
I'm very simple. And for this to happen and to be real,
yeah,
and the confirmation again afterwards, even to this day,
Wow.
that was a couple years ago. To this day, no more anger, no more.
Wow.
It's just God's good, man. It's
and I think it's beautiful because I think sometimes we talked about it when Pastor Carlos talked about the book of Colossians, when we're going through the book of Colossians, and there's people that will chase those experiences.
Yeah.
There's people that are really heavy into deliverance and deliverance ministry, and
that's good.
while those things are sometimes necessary in our lives for the Lord to do, as a Christian, we believe that we are set free. We've been transferred from the kingdom of darkness into the kingdom of light. But I think sometimes there's people who are over obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that you just said, like, hey, man, you know what the best part of it was? The fruit,
Yeah.
the change in my life, like, it wasn't just an emotional experience and then you went back to being you, right? Like, it was, man, God did this in my life. This was a changing and a turning point. This is how it happened. It was out of the ordinary, but, man, through it, I've been able to give God the glory, and I don't struggle with that stuff I used to anymore, right? And so, man, that's beautiful, and I think that's truly the emphasis I think I want people to hear is, like, man, God showed up, set him free, and then there's fruit. And even, like, that, I think sometimes we'll hear those stories. I know I used to hear stories like that and be like, well, that's what has to happen for me.
Yeah, no.
And it's like, no, like, man, sometimes it's a lot more gradual, and I think even yours, it wasn't an instant, and it's not like you just woke up one morning and it happened.
No.
Like, there was this process God was doing of, man, you're showing up at a church, now you're actually plugging in, now you're getting baptized.
Yeah.
I'm sure throughout this whole time, you and your family, your wife's praying for you, and, like, God's doing this process, and then it happens, and then now you're on the other side of it, and there's the fruit, and so
It's good stuff.
after this moment, right? How does it look? How did you start serving the altar team? Like, what was that? I know you mentioned a little bit about it, but
yeah, no. After this happened, like I said, it got real. There was a real transformation. I forgave.
Sorry, and just to pause real quick, I jumped straight to the altar team, but
Very good.
what was that? What was that like? Like, man, did you text Pastor Carlos? Or like, what was that?
I was a little mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I texted Pastor Carlos the next day, like, bro, you should have warned me, like, what the heck was it?
Yeah.
I kept telling him, wasn't that water? So it was neat. So this happened. My whole life changed. My aspect of the Bible, the Word of God, everything changed. It was real. But now, like you said, God wants to do a big work for a long time in me.
Yeah.
So now, the first part, I want to say the first book I read cover to cover was the Bible.
Yeah.
That next, following that, I read the Bible straight through,
Wow.
which I don't encourage. It was tough. The first book's like again, not digging into it at all.
Yeah.
And I started reading it, but the Bible's fire, man. The stories, I think I probably texted Pastor Carlos a couple of times, like, bro, listen to the Bible? Text my pastor, right? Like, that's crazy. But I would encourage anybody, get in the Word. If you don't believe it, if you want to try, if you're dabbling in the psychedelic stuff and the weird things, read the Bible first.
Yeah.
Get in the Bible. It's like, and I'm learning so much still, right? I still call myself a baby Christian, and I didn't want to get too zealous either. You get those guys that they get on fire, they have a life-changing experience, and then it burns out pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I was very good about that. My wife too, she keeps me grounded. She's like, hey,
There you go.
and she's awesome, man. She's the temperature gauge. Hey, stay hot, but don't burn yourself. Don't burn yourself out. And so, read the Bible all the way through, and still learning, man. Your word this morning, I'm learning a lot. And the Bible speaks back to you. That's the cool thing with the Bible is it's not something that you read. It reads you, and it talks back to you. And I'm like, they call it the living word for a reason. It's living, dude. It's alive. So it's neat. It's been a neat journey, and I'm excited to see where it keeps going.
Wow.
It got real, and the like you said, the fruit that it produces.
Yeah.
I hope that people that knew me 3 years ago see me different.
Wow. Yeah.
And some of my boys do. We go back and and cut back on all the drinking type stuff. Went to a couple of big occasions and drinking ginger ale, and they kind of laughing, but they like it, and I like it too.
Yeah.
I'm different. I love it. I'm glad
That's
I'm different,
awesome.
and
Yeah.
and not in a bad way. I'm still old Aaron, man,
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm new. The cool thing about it too, which I press baptismals. I think they're the best thing ever. We're having baptisms tomorrow.
Yeah. Dude, I'm excited.
I had a guy explain to me. I didn't know anything about it when I did it, and I had a buddy of mine, Ivan, man, a godsend, a brother of mine out here, in Midland, Texas. He explained it. He's like, man, that old, because I kind of struggle with some things, just questioning. He said, man, Aaron, that old Aaron's in the water still. Do you ever pull a dead guy out of the thing the cold boxes are in? Do you ever pull him out and talk to him about stuff he did before?
No.
And wrestle with that?
Yeah.
Nah, man, you can't. You gotta let that old dude stay in the water, man.
Yeah.
You died, you became a new creation. And so that was neat. Just knowing that things I might have struggled with in the past are done and gone,
Wow.
So
praise God. And it's so true. Like, and as we wrap up here, as we talk about, baptism and what happened in your life, because here at Real Church, we say, man, baptism doesn't save you. It's a outward reality it's an outward showing of an inward reality. And so, man, the Lord had saved you. He had, you placed your trust and your faith in Jesus, and now you are showing to the world, hey, I am dead with Christ, and I've been raised to live a new life. And even in Romans 6, it says that, we've been buried into his baptism, a baptism of death.
Right.
And so, like, man, we were buried with Christ. The old dude is dead, the old Ace, the old Aaron, that guy died.
Yeah, thank God.
That guy died, and he's in the grave now. And then we, as believers, we're raised to new life. And so, yeah, like your friend said, man, that's not who you are anymore. Like, Jesus, one, he pays the price for your sin, but then we're buried into his baptism of death, and that's what baptism is. We're buried, and then we're raised to new life.
Yeah,
and it's
awesome.
beautiful. It's such a beautiful moment. I'm so glad we get to see that tomorrow. Well, that'll be today if you're listening. Today we had baptisms, and it's just it's so awesome to see people give their life to the Lord and show that to the world. And it's truly a joy to be able to be part of that. And
it's neat. It's real. It's real,
dude. It's real.
The last thing I want to say is real. And come to Real Church. We're real people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we're real, man.
Real people showing you a real Jesus with a real love. That's as real as it gets.
Let's go.
So.
And as we wrap up, what's something that you would want to, I guess, just tell someone who, man, maybe they're going through that mental struggle. Maybe they're dealing with depression, or even, like, man, suicidal ideation, things that the Lord set you free from. Man, what would be an encouragement you give, even to just someone struggling in their faith, right? It doesn't have to be necessarily that, but man, what's something you would want to leave them with as we close here?
Real quick, man, two things I want to speak to the people that already know it's real.
Yeah.
The me and the yous that know it's real. I want to speak to you real quick and say, reach out.
Yeah.
Do a head check. We call them head checks now. Head check on your buddies, right? Hey, man, how you doing? How you really doing,
Yeah.
Simple text or phone call. Coworkers, customers, wherever, just your network.
Yeah.
That's a big one. And you'll be surprised on what people say.
Yeah.
So head checks for the people that are quote unquote doing okay, right? Just head check on each other, man. Big thing.
Yeah.
If you're struggling with it, no shame. There's no shame in it. I think that might hold you back a lot. The shame of it. Get plugged in. Go to a church, and there's so much strength and power in giving up. What I mean as far as giving up is giving it up to God and letting it go. So I can't hold this. I can't. I've tried for 20 years. I was trying for my whole life, 20 years, to hold this weight. And there's nothing wrong with giving up. And when you do give it up at the altar.
Yeah.
Right? The place that I once hated, go there, just give it up. Come to talk to someone, pray with somebody, and give it to God.
Wow.
It's real. And the main thing too is getting the word. The word is fire. The word is real. It's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. So
wow, man, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you for that, bro. And
thank you.
Man, thank you for being on the episode. This was a lot of fun. Thanks. I think, like you said, now you see, man, we could go for 3 hours, and we could talk about this. You even said it yourself. Maybe this is another podcast, and it's like,
another ghetto Aaron story. Yeah, there's plenty.
Yeah, dude. Maybe we'll have a section, a playlist. Just hey,
Ghetto Aaron stories,
Ace
yeah.
and Aaron share ghetto Aaron stories. But man, yeah, that was episode. I believe this is 7. If not, I'll fix that in editing. But man, I just want to thank you guys for watching,
Definitely.
for tuning in. Man, you know, we want to just continue to have these episodes out for you and just encourage you. You know, we want to tell these stories like Aaron's story and Matthew and Brett and Pastor Carlos and mine. We just want to encourage you, you know, that, you know, no matter what situation you're in, the grace of God is there. It's real. Like Aaron said, it is real, man. The Bible's real. And we just want to continue to, you know, point real people to a real Jesus with a real love, you know, until
Amen.
Midland loves Jesus. And so,
Good.
man, you guys have a good night. We'll see y'all next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, you know, share this post. You know, you can copy the link and share it on Facebook. Follow us on our Instagram. It's Until Midland Loves Jesus. And then, you know, subscribe. Make sure you know, hit the notification bell on YouTube. But we'll see you guys later. Love y'all.
Love you guys.